This show is clean, pretty much.
Mike's Daily Podcast.
Episode 645. Hi, I am Mike Matthews, broadcasting from the last place on earth located somewhere in Podcastro Valley, California. Today we hear from Chely Shoehart, Floyd the Floorman, John Deere the engineer, plus it's the return of the feature Into an Interview and the finale of my chat with Hollywood insider Reba Merrill. And Leah Remini has an interesting secret.
Mike's Daily Podcast.
And she has, I guess for a while, had to keep it.
Mike's Daily Podcast.
We'll find out what that is in a little bit. But yesterday's show, something interesting happened. There was a hole in the space-time continuum that opened. And we went through to the 80s. And we hung out there. And it was hot as Hades. Hot as in cool, as in awesome, as in 80s rock.
Mike's Daily Podcast.
I don't know what to talk about next, except that today.
Mike's
If you have
Daily
already looked at the podcast picture,
Podcast.
usually we talk about that at the end of the show.
Yeah!
The podcast picture today is a drawing of the Brewmaster who just walked in.
Hello there, Mike. I make the root beer. I'm the Brewmaster.
Brewmaster, there's a drawing of you and I. We're walking Basil the Boxer, and this actually happened today in Danville, California. Danville is not too far away, probably about 30, 35 minutes from Podcastro Valley, California, sometimes 45. And there, Danville's a very nice little, looks like an old town. It's where the famous writer Eddie Harding, I always forget his name. It's Eugene O'Neill, that's who. I always forget that playwright, Eugene O'Neill. You know, his daughter dated the writer, the author of Catcher in the Rye, Salinger. Sammy Salinger? Sly Salinger? J.D. Salinger, that's right. And then I think she ended up marrying Charlie Chaplin, right? I think that's all how it all worked out. Anyway, we were walking there, beautiful town, but every person that came up to us, what were they, Brewmaster?
They weren't very nice. They wouldn't even talk to me. I tried to say hello, and I guess I wasn't wearing the correct type of warm-up outfit.
Yeah, the type of athletic wear you're supposed to wear in Danville. I guess you weren't wearing it.
No, I wasn't wearing it.
And neither was Basil. I mean, you might be going, Mike, what's the big deal? Some people like to stay to themselves. But it was palpable. It was really... I've walked Basil the Boxer all over the Bay Area, and I could really feel a sense of coldness with people. And it's weird because I had just eaten at a restaurant that I like in Danville for lunch, and there was a guy there was really nice, really chatty, friendly. Everybody working at this place. All right, I'll say the name of it. Jersey Mike's. They got a free plug. You know what? It wasn't that much. If they paid for the plug, it wouldn't have cost that much anyway. So, Jersey Mike's I've been to in Ventura. That's the first one I had. And then when I moved to Alabama, they had one in Huntsville. And then recently they have moved to the Bay Area, and there's one in Danville and one in Pleasanton. There you go. Huge all-around endorsement for them. But it just... I eat there because I'm on their... what do you call it? The mailing list, and they send out these cool discounts, like a free drink and chips type thing. So I'm using that, and I'm eating there, and the guy is really nice. Everybody working there is friendly, but then you get onto the trails and the green path, the Iron Horse trails, what they have that goes through there. Nobody even looked at me and smiled. You get that, right? Where you live, when you're walking down the street, did anybody look at you and smile or say hi? Nothing. All eyes averted. I kept looking at what I was wearing. Am I naked? Is that what the problem is? No, I'm wearing clothes. This isn't one of those nightmares that I had. Oh, like when I woke up today. Same nightmare over and over again where I'm naked.
I have that one too. It's fun.
So that was my first observation I wanted to make. And then, oh, look who else just walked in.
Hello, guys. Is it Chely Shoehart, the gift shop supervisor? Thank God you're not naked.
Yes, it's I'm never nude. I actually am. I'm going to have to be nude in a little bit to take a shower.
Yeah, Mike, you're a little bit rank.
Thanks. I love the people that do the extra click on the K's, like you, Chely Shoehart.
Thank you.
Well, what were we talking about? The other observation was I did not realize I was a fan of the band Rancid. Yeah! See, if I had a band, it would sound like that. That's my dream anyway. And I'm going to play that at the wedding I'm going to be DJing in June. I feel like this song would be perfect for the couple that's going to get married. It's going to be... I can't wait. And it's happening in Danville, ironically. No, actually, it's going to be in Sunol, which is about 30 minutes, 20 minutes south of there. I really have no sense of how much time it takes to get from one point to another point. I think that's the point.
Mike Matthews, I like Rancid too.
Really?
Yeah, I once went to one of their shows, and I got stuck in the mosh pit.
You got stuck in the mosh pit?
Yeah, I was trying to leave. I was in my car, and I got stuck in the mosh pit.
You didn't have like an all-wheel drive to get out?
No.
Oh.
I had to call AAA.
Fascinating. Look, Welsh just walked in. Hello, Mike. This is Floyd the Floorman. And this is John Deere, the engineer. Mike, there must be something redeeming about Danville. Like I said, yeah, there's some nice people there, but none walking their dogs, apparently. And I did talk to another guy who was from Texas. He was doing a job putting in some expensive clothing store in one of the shopping centers they have. He sets it all up. He does all the, furniture and the way the walls look and puts in all the essential electronics and electrical construction is, I guess, what the term for the person that can talk would be. And this guy was so interesting. He apparently learned carpentry, carpentering, that thing. The thing that Jesus' dad did. Not God, the other one. He learned this at a young age in trade school. Started his own business at 16. He's 36 now. He travels the country setting up stores for this big company out of Ohio. And he himself is from Texas, born and raised on a farm. And I had Basil the Boxer there. And we discussed... All right, you can tell the story. Oh, he doesn't want to. All right. So we were talking about dogs. And really nice guy. His name was Jonathan. Oh, and Jonathan was a libertarian. We got into talking about politics, and it was interesting because he was explaining to me why Ted Cruz will not endorse the John Cornyn, both of them senators. And he was saying, well, Jonathan was telling me, John Cornyn just rolled over and did whatever Obama wanted, and now the debt is going to be even bigger, and he's against my principles in that arena. And he said Ted Cruz is huge in Texas. So this really could be, according to Jonathan, a race in 2016 between Hillary and Cruz. I didn't get into the whole thing about how the Tea Partiers are freaking crazy or any of that. I was just, okay, that's interesting, yes. Because you really shouldn't talk politics with strangers, especially in Danville, California. But this guy was fascinating. Started his own business at 16. What the heck? He can build anything. He was teaching me how to build a bench. Fascinating. Mike, benches are not that difficult to make. Shut up. Hey, you know what else is interesting is, have you heard of Leah Remini? She was on that TV show King of Queens. She's got the really dry kind of says whatever she thinks type thing. Well, she was a Scientologist. And she broke with the church last year, the Church of Scientology, which is the worst way of it is not a church. They only got it to be called a church so that they could become a nonprofit. But Leah Remini had that big break with them last year for many reasons. She says in a new interview, primarily though, it was for the benefit of her 9-year-old daughter. She says she was getting to the age where the acclamation into the church would have started. And she said that meant that her and her husband, Angelo Pagan's daughter, Sophia, would undergo auditing. Oh, that scares the out of me. A process of intensive questioning that the church says is to enhance spiritual awareness, but that critics say is indoctrination. Remini also found the church intruding on family time. This according to Newsday.com. She says, in my house, it's family first, but I was spending most of my time at the church. So I was saying family first, but I wasn't showing that. I didn't like the message that sent my daughter. Leah Remini, who is 43, is now starring on the TV Land sitcom The Exes. It's amazing she even has a job in Hollywood. Once you break with Scientology and all your celebrity friends turn their backs. In fact, she says, we had a chance to make a change from within, but they didn't want to, talking about her church friends. That showed me that they actually didn't care, which went against everything I thought we stood for. They only cared that their lives would be disrupted if they stood with me. They didn't care about doing the right thing. That showed me everything the church taught me was a lie. This article also says, ironically, the rift made her closer with her mother, who had brought her and her sisters into Scientology when they were children. She says, the fact my mother stood by me after all her years in the church totally took away any resentment I may have been harboring.
Mike Matthews, isn't Tom Cruise a Scientologist?
Yeah, everybody knows that. That's like the big news of the world. He is the masthead, the flagship of Scientology.
I think he looks really good for his age. Do you think that's because of Scientology?
I don't know. Maybe the auditing makes you stay young.
I don't know. Let's try it.
You're going to audit me?
Yeah.
Okay.
Hold on to these two electrical devices.
All right. I'm holding... Ouch! Ow! Ow! Wow! We ripped another hole in the space-time continuum. Back to the 80s again. Tom Cruise, just about to star in the movie Risky Business. Hey, Tom, you're going to get really popular off of this, and then you're going to become the flagship masthead of Scientology. You're welcome. Let's get out of here. Ouch, ouch. Stop the auditing. Mike, that was fascinating. Time travel. Yes, time travel is fascinating, isn't it? It really is. You know, time travel is interesting. I think we've already stated that. Or did we just go back into a loop in space-time and you said it over again? Yeah, whatever. You know what? I don't think anyone should be auditing anybody else around here. Just, to play it safe. That's right. And saying auditing this close to tax time is just foolish. I'm sick of those H&R Block commercials. Me too. Mike Matthews, I think that John Deere the engineer and I should move to Texas and buy a big house and live off the land. And why is that? Because I'm Floyd the Floorman and I'm afraid of people. Oh, well, you should get over that. Why? Because, people are like everywhere. You're right. Yeah, so what do you think of Leah Remini and this band Rancid and Danville and any of your other comments? We read your comments on the section emails from email. Email me, mikesdailypodcast@gmail.com. You can also email me there if you'd like to be a guest on the show or if you would like to sponsor the show. mikesdailypodcast@gmail.com. And then there's the website, mikesdailypodcast.com, with a bunch of cool links, including where to listen to the show on YouTube, where we are on Spreaker, Stitcher, SoundCloud. We're also on Yelp and Twitter, and of course the Facebook page. We got a link there. Like this show on Facebook, and when I post a new show, share it with your friends so more people find out about Mike's Daily Podcast. There's also a link to where to listen to the show in iTunes, and you can subscribe to the show there and rate and comment on the show there, and more people find out about us if you do that. That's awesome. There's also a link to the Amazon deal of the day. Click on that and buy something at a great discount, and that helps the show out. There's also the blog and the daily podcast picture at mikesdailypodcast.com.
Into an interview.
And the finale of my Into an Interview with Reba Merrill, who in her many years in Hollywood interviewed several big-name celebrities and got caught up in the Hollywood machine. The rest of the interview sounded something like this. So you have written this book, Nearly Famous, Secrets, Lies,
and Addiction. My addiction, like a lot of actors, came from the stress of working in Hollywood. I felt like I would never work again after I got a great job and delivered the product. And I got scared. And once I got hooked, and my addiction was sugar, by the way,
Whoa.
which would have alcohol, except that I never wanted to go into a bar alone. I didn't think it looked good for a woman. But it certainly didn't hurt that I went to Safeway and filled up bags of sugar, chocolate-covered peanuts, and ate them till I passed out at night.
What?
And yep.
Ay, ay, ay.
If you're an alcoholic and you get sober in AA, do you know what they give you to keep you going?
No.
Sugar.
Whoa. Huh.
So I'm pretty sure that I would have been an alcoholic, except I got a morning talk show and had to get to the studio so early and get up so early that I realized that if I had a glass of wine at 6 o'clock, I was falling asleep. I couldn't even get through the meal. That's how exhausted I was. So I stopped drinking, and I never went back to drinking. But the stress of working in Hollywood it's not uncommon what I felt, because my job was nearly like an actor's. Each piece I did was like another audition.
Right.
And so after a while, I was totally consumed, passing out every night from sugar. I'm amazed today that I am not a diabetic.
Yeah.
I did get fat, but when I was doing all these interviews that everybody was talking about, Oprah was also doing all her interviews, and she was fat, so it was acceptable for me to be fat. Nobody cared. But what was not acceptable was my behavior. And my behavior was exactly like an alcoholic, filled with rage and anger. And, a lot of times we blame, if my circumstances were only different, I would have a different life. Well, when I was at the height of my disease, of being addicted to sugar, I was living in Malibu on the beach, and I was driving a BMW convertible. So therefore, material things did not bring me to face what my problem was. But I got help, and I turned my life around. I also lost my career in that process. I lost it because my behavior was so despicable. They didn't make a movie about me. I am not despicable 1 or 2, but my behavior was despicable. And I was very lucky after cleaning up my act and spending a year in program, and I'm still go. I went this morning before we had a chance to sit down and talk. I was at a meeting. This time, I was clean and sober and abstinent, and when the career started again, I was very grateful for what I had been given. And it ended up that the second half of my career, the last 14 years, were bigger than I ever imagined. And that's when I started to go to 60 countries instead of only 55 television stations.
Wow.
So, yes, I wrote a book because I thought it was about time. I would say, I know you didn't ask me what's the best way to describe my time in Hollywood, but I'm going to tell you.
Yes.
I lied my way through Hollywood, and I thought it was about time I told the truth, because I have nothing to lie about anymore.
Wow. Because with all that lying, you end up lying to yourself.
I lied so much to myself that the opening sentences in my book is that I lied to the point that I started to believe them.
Oh.
And I think when you get that way, you really lose sight of who you are as a person. This is not a preachy book that I wrote. It's a book really. Here's the opening it's called The Beginning. Writing this book made me aware I had buried some secrets so deep that I could not remember what was true and what was a lie. I told some stories so many times that even I believed them to be true. I was unsure of who I was supposed to be.
Wow. Yeah, that's great that you have been able to get on the other side of that and see what what the whole, because I think that's true. Hollywood is a whole bunch of smoke and mirrors, a lot of it, isn't it? And that, that's how some people are able to get so successful, and then, but then it gets out of control for some
Absolutely.
people.
But you see, because there is a lot of money there, you believe you are wonderful. You believe that you have no faults. You believe this stuff. I mean, the thing is that I started out with 55 television stations to make this career work. And I ended up with 110. These were my private television stations that would play only my stuff. And I offered exclusivity. So even though I had two in the same city, each television station got their own unique piece. They did not get the same clips. They did not get the same interview. Everybody got exclusivity. And that's what I was doing in the beginning, and I came up with this idea because nobody wanted me on television anymore, and I had to find a way to keep working, which I did. So the thing is that I sat down and I wrote a book, and it's called Nearly Famous, Secrets, Lies, and Addiction. It's a Kindle. It's on Amazon, and I just got a review from a professional reviewer, which is very powerful. I know nothing about writing books, okay? And they actually said that it's a really good book. It's the things you never knew from the trenches of Hollywood.
Wow, and you lived it, Reba.
I did. I lived it, and I came out the other side. I did.
Well,
a lot of people don't come out the other side. Mm-hmm. Look at the young actors dying. Look at Philip Seymour Hoffman. Look at the young man from Glee. I mean, or Heath. You cannot believe the pressure.
Mm-hmm.
And the other side of this pressure, it comes because there's a lack of ethics. It comes because greed rules everything out here. And it comes because we all want to make it. No matter what they say, fame is the aphrodisiac out here. I mean, even though I wasn't famous, I was nearly famous. Within the circle of the studios, I was famous. Just the public didn't know that. Studios knew who I was. I worked for everybody.
So you saw the whole thing, the whole Hollywood machine.
And I lived it. I deteriorated as a human being. And I saw how easy it was to do that. I don't know.
Wow.
It's hard for me to describe this, is that I should have been on top of the world sitting down with all these people and getting all these studio people to call me and give me jobs. And this is how I got a job. They would say, would you like to work on this film? I mean, that's how I got the jobs. And I'm deteriorating because I am terrified of the other side of all this.
Yeah.
And I don't think I'm any different than a lot of writers, directors, producers, and actors. It's the same feeling of great tension. Is once I made it, are they going to take it away from me? Or am I going to make it at all?
Right. Like, just got to keep going. The fear of it stopping.
Exactly.
But you can't smell the roses ever because you're just running. You can't stop and go, wow, what a fantastic experience this is. Who lives this life? This is amazing.
Exactly. So behind all the walls of all the big houses out here, I think there are very few people who are really, truly happy or know who they are. Remember, all the really big players are surrounded by people that are supposed to protect them. And in the process of protecting them, they also say an awful lot of yes, or aren't you wonderful? And you know something? The general public laughed when Sally Field won her second Oscar, and she stood there and said, you love me. You really, really love me.
Mm-hmm.
How symbolic is that? Because here are all these actors getting all these accolades, and deep down, they don't feel loved.
But an Oscar makes you feel like you're loved, because that's the top.
That is the top. If you're going to be in this industry, it is the highest honor you can be awarded.
Wow.
And when they say we're awarded by our peers, the Academy is broken down to branches that cover executives, producers, writers, directors, actors, makeup artists and hairdressers, visual effects, special effects, music, as in music being composed, and then music being performed. When you think of all those people involved, that's what makes an Oscar.
Yeah, it's a total group effort. All those people together. Wow. Well, even Hollywood, though, you're still, amongst all the other things, you got to be aware, beware of sharks and Mercedes doors landing on your finger. It can be a beautiful place at 80 degrees in the middle of winter.
A harsh place, too.
Yeah. Wow, so the book is Nearly Famous, Secrets, Lies, and Addictions. It's a Hollywood tell-all by Reba Merrill.
And I'm on Amazon, and I'm on Kindle, and I'm reasonably priced. And I think you'll be surprised when you read it, because I really finally stopped lying and told the truth about everything, including the people. You know, not everybody in Hollywood is nice. I hope that doesn't come as a surprise to you.
No, it doesn't. But I know to many people it is.
Put me on your podcast. You're absolutely a delight, and I feel really honored. And anytime you want to pod me again, please do.
Oh, kinky. As we go outside of the last place on earth where we bring you Mike's Daily Podcast, somewhere in Podcastro Valley, California. Thank you, Reba Merrill.
And here's today's podcast picture.
As you know, the picture is that wonderful thing that happened with the Brewmaster and Basil the Boxer and I today. Isn't that right, Brewmaster?
I have no idea what you are talking about.
We in the beginning of the... Rancid's an awesome band, isn't it, Floyd the Floorman? I think that I would like to sing every Rancid song that's ever been recorded, and I'll put out an album, my tribute to Rancid, by Floyd the Floorman. John Deere the engineer, are you going to play along with him on that? I know you're an excellent performer yourself.
You know I don't play a single instrument.
I did not know that, now I do, and I am sharing that ignorance that I had with the rest of the people listening.
Very bold of you.
Okay, tomorrow we will bring you an actual musician by the name of Daniel G. HARMANN. He was in a band called The Trouble Starts. He's from Seattle. We'll talk to him tomorrow. We'll also hear from Benita, the Disgruntled Fiddle Player, and it looks like the Brewmaster will be back again.
Where am I? Oh, boy.
He's a little lost, as you can tell.
Mike, you sound like that all the time. What's the big deal?
Yeah, it's not a big deal, because sometimes I do get a little confused, and sometimes I say... Destination unknown!
Mike Matthews, is the show over yet?
Yeah.
Good, I can take my fingers out of my ears.
Excellent.
Mike's Daily Podcast is written and produced and performed by Mike Matthews. His podcast is super easy to find. Download or listen to his show and read his blog at MIKEs-DAILY-PODCAST.com. Email Mike now at MIKEs-DAILY-PODCAST@gmail.com. See you tomorrow. Bye!
Danville rocks.